Hi, I'm Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Christy, and we work with Globe International.
Working with missionaries, we hear stories of the struggles, the humor, God's goodness, and a little side of crazy.
Hey, that's who we are.
This is Crazy Missionary Stories.
Welcome back to part 2 with the Holdermans. Ken and Becky are veteran missionaries with Globe International and currently serve as member care providers. Join us as we enjoy more of their crazy missionary stories.
So how many years were you in Venezuela?
7.
7 years, okay. And that's when you had to come back because they told you you're not really needed anymore? Okay, so then walk us...
It's no fun being an ex-missionary.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Especially when you feel called to be on the field.
It's wonderful being a missionary, and it's wonderful being a missionary home on furlough, because you get a lot of attention. But when you come back and you're no longer a missionary, you're just a house painter. I didn't realize until later when I went to a class reunion that a lot of us were not the wonderful high positions that we thought we were going to have when we were young.
So with that organization, did you have any idea that that was even like, that could happen, that one day they would just tell you, you need to go home? You didn't know that. Wow. So during your time, it sounds like you kind of had like a loss of identity. And we hear that a good bit about, missionaries coming off the field. Could you speak to that a little bit? Maybe some encouragement or what you went through?
It's easier to look back and see how God used it, because those years that I was just a house painter got my 40 quarters in order to get full Social Security, which many missionaries don't have because they were on the field the whole time and don't have that safety net.
And I see it that God used my learning Spanish to help all these moms and babies in their homes and help the community with Layette and building bridges in the community.
Yeah, so now that you're kind of out of it and you can look back, you can see how God was using it. But I'm sure like when you were in it, it didn't feel that way. Is there anything you could say to someone who may be listening that might be going through exactly what you guys went through? If you could go back and talk to yourselves in that situation, what would you say?
Hold on to God. And one of my favorite verses is Psalm 61. When I'm overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. For you are my shelter. And he was my shelter. He was my rock in those times. But we mentioned earlier about this missionary couple that we had related to, Ruth Kripe. She and I would talk a lot and find people that are in commonality, that believe the same as you do, that you can talk to about what you're feeling, because that is what helped me a lot.
And essentially is member care.
Yes.
It's good wisdom. So how did you get from there then, because you guys went back out in missions then, how did you get from here to going back out again?
That was one of the things that happened in Venezuela. Because we were in Venezuela when they had the first riots, there was a young man who was a lay leader in our congregation who went back to his home. He had come to Venezuela at the age of 11 from the Canary Islands because his parents were looking for freedom from persecution and for a better life for themselves. And so that family was in our church, and then he helped us plant a congregation in the capital. And then the riots came, and he decided to move back to the Canary Islands. And so after we were no longer in Venezuela, then occasionally he would write a letter saying, well, I've started a little congregation, but I really need some help. Can you come and help me?
Wow. So he invited you to go help him.
And we turned him down several times, but we had visited to see the work that he was doing and could really see the hand of God in the congregation. And so one time after we had visited them, we were on our way to the airport to leave, and he had waited all that time to ask us if we would come because there was a a church in need of somebody to fill in as pastor because the pastor there was having a burnout. And it was a congregation that was English and Spanish. And so they needed somebody that could manage both of them. And so we prayed about it and decided to join him. So that's why. And at that, going back out again, we needed to have some supporting organization. And our home church, where Doug Gaiman came out of at the beginning, decided that they didn't want to try and have their own mission board. And so they decided to send all of their missionaries through Globe.
So that's how you came to Globe?
2010, Del and Jeannie Penner and we came to orientation.
That is cool.
Yeah.
And how old were you guys at that time, if you don't mind me asking?
In our 50s.
So you go out through Globe.
It was a big decision. In 2010, we decided to go. But in 2009, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. And leaving the country meant that Parkinson's was a pre-existing condition and either raised the rates terribly high or else we couldn't get health insurance.
So what did you do? I mean, I know you left, but as far as insurance.
We had to get travel insurance.
Wow.
While we were there, and then we came back to the States, and because I wasn't 65 yet.
No, we had to get Medicaid for a little bit of time, and we had to get disability because his Parkinson's he had extreme tremors, and he couldn't even hold plates or anything like that, so he had to do something. Medication was not working at all for him, and so we got a referral to Rush Hospital in Chicago where they did surgery for him, and it's really helped a lot since 2018. He had deep brain stimulation surgery.
Wow, so you said in 2009 you were diagnosed and you left the country in 2010. Did your family think you were kind of crazy? You know, you're not old, but a little bit older, going back to the mission field. You just don't really hear that too much. So what were your family's reactions? Did they see it coming, or were they surprised by it?
We were such world citizens by that time that I don't think anybody was that surprised.
No, because when God says to do something, we try to be obedient, no matter what. And Steve Chupp was our pastor, and he said during a sermon Sunday, he said, somebody needs to go to the mission field. And we had just been talking about it in the car before we went into church. So the two of us looked at each other, and we knew exactly what we needed to do because it's life-changing. We're leaving our job, our house, our kids, everything. But when God says to go, I cannot be disobedient.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like a confirmation. Wow.
And he said after, if he had known it was us, he wouldn't have said anything.
Oh, no.
Because we were elders in the church, and so he did not want to lose us.
He's like, I take it back. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your second time in Venezuela. What were you guys, you went to help with that little church, right?
No,
In Canary Islands,
Oh,
right?
sorry, Canary Island, yes.
It was a tourist church. There was an old church building that was owned by a Finnish congregation and had 5 different services every week.
Wow.
There was a Finnish congregation, a Swedish congregation, a German congregation, Spanish, and English.
My goodness.
I was responsible for the Spanish and the English. But whenever we had extracurricular activities with the church, you had to work it around everybody's schedule.
So it was really interesting because mainly the English were all British people. So we had a really different culture learning, what Brits like. And we had coffee mornings, and the way they make sandwiches and the way they do things is very different than the way Americans do things. But the language is common. And the Spanish had a bunch of different varieties too. We had Cubans, we had Venezuelans, we had Bolivians. So it was a big, big mix of people. And the two cultures sort of got along, but you know, it's very different.
Yeah, so lots of adapting to many different cultures all in one place.
And it was a congregation of tourists. The Canary Islands are considered the Hawaii of Europe. And a lot of British people, well, a lot of people from Northern Europe would come down for retiring, or they'd have summer houses. And then they didn't know the language that great, and so they were happy to have an English service that they could come to. The first year we were there, we had 4 funerals.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Because they were all older, retired people, and they would have health needs. We did a lot of hospital visitations. There was a young German man that came to our services, and he decided that he didn't need his medications and decided to jump from a 3rd floor,
Oh, no.
and he lived.
Wow.
And so we were going to the hospital.
Intensive care, a lot. And relating to all the different family members that are in other parts of the world. And so, and all those communications between, because we knew the language, we didn't have issues with talking to the different people, go between liaisons.
Yeah. Wow, that's really interesting. And how many years were you there?
4 years.
4 years, okay.
There's a story.
Okay.
Yeah, we like stories.
Let's hear it.
Is it a crazy missionary story?
We were going to have a baptism on Good Friday and had 4 people that were going to be baptized. A couple days before the baptism, one of the people from our congregation said, "There's been a jellyfish infestation where we were planning to have it."
Oops.
And we weren't sure what to do, but we started praying about it. And by Good Friday morning, it had gone completely. And
Really?
we could have the baptism.
Wow.
That's really cool.
That's good. You don't want to be baptized into a jellyfish infestation. Did you see the jellyfish? Did you go and look?
No. I had seen jellyfish when I visited Sweden once as a single person. And we had seen jellyfish in Venezuela, the long string kind that sting you really bad. But I don't know what kind they had there.
But an infestation, that sounds pretty extreme.
Yes.
It was.
Yeah, you want to avoid that.
Oh, man.
One of the people who was baptized was an American from southern Michigan who played basketball. And he and his wife had grown up around church, but he was mostly Catholic. Yeah. When he wasn't traveling for his ball games, he'd come, or his wife would come, and we got to know them. We're still very good friends, but he decided to be baptized as an adult. That was special.
That's really neat. So you were there for 4 years and then came back to the States. How did you get involved then with member care? How did that happen with Globe?
We pushed it.
Oh, really? You felt like the Lord was just saying, this is where you should be.
Because Globe didn't have too much of a member care.
It was just Bob and Melissa.
Yeah.
And so we were going to offer to take all of the Hispanics off their list so that they had a lighter load.
So we went to Scotland and went with them and said, you know, this is what we've been doing. And we just offered ourselves to do that because
What year was that?
2016.
Okay.
Wow, and the member care has grown so much since then. It just keeps growing too, which is really, really awesome.
It's a big need for people out on the field. And we can know how it's felt to be by ourselves and not have people to relate to and talk to.
And it's nice that you also have that experience in Latin countries where you can relate to the people who are in those countries now. That's awesome. Well, just over your years, you told one kind of crazy story about jellyfish, but do you want to pull out your list and look? We'd love to hear some crazy stories. our signature thing.
At our first congregation in Venezuela, we were driving up to go to the church, and we had to cross the main intersection in town. It was a real small town, and traffic was all stopped, stop and go, coming through town, and we were just going to cross it. And so one of the cars stopped and motioned us to go ahead. So we started going ahead. And at the same time, an off-duty policeman, borrowing his boss's motorcycle, decided to come up past all the cars.
Oh, no.
And we hit him.
Oh.
Oh, no. In Venezuela?
That's what was happening. You could hear the wheels spinning.
But he was sort of bumped and kind of jumped off. And so it was mostly the motorcycle that was damaged and not him.
Praise God.
It was right at lunchtime, and fortunately there were people from our congregation to come and help out because our Spanish was not that good at that time. And so they came and talked to the people, and the guy who was driving the motorcycle told the cop who was making the report that he was fine, he didn't need to go to the hospital. We found out later if he had gone to the hospital, even just to have his leg checked, we probably would have been thrown in jail.
Really?
Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Praise God that he did not go. Wow. And that he jumped. He jumped off the bike is what you said. That's incredible.
It's crazy.
God's hand of protection. Yeah. I'm curious if there's anything that you guys feel like you learned during your time on the field that would be valuable to share with somebody who's looking at getting into missions.
Hang on to God. It may seem right or it may seem wrong at the time with the particular circumstances, but it's always right if you just hang on.
And he's never going to leave you or forsake you. I mean, even though things can get rough, you don't know what's coming up, God is your source. And it's been the source for us all these years.
And it helps to be flexible.
Yes. And you just go with the flow. Whatever, you say, God, what do you want from me today? And then you just go, because you can have lots of plans, but he's the one who orders your steps. And I see it time and time again. I think I know what I'm supposed to be doing in a day, and it keeps getting interrupted. Well, those interruptions could be divine appointments, and you got to just go with what happens. Because I used to be a real planner, and I know now there's lots of stuff that goes by the wayside, and it's not my plans, but his.
Yeah, I think something that I've been impacted by you guys in your ministry personally. I was in Costa Rica, and I don't know, I'm guessing probably right around that time when you first started is when you first started contacting me then, and you came down. I don't even remember what year it was that you came down and visited multiple times, I'm sure. But yeah, I remember one trip in particular that just really impacted me. You guys being there, being able to see the ministry. Yeah, I took you around in my little green car, and you guys prayed for me, and that was just very powerful for me. It ministered to me personally. Yeah, thank you for what you have done and what you continue to do in member care and blessing the missionaries on the field. Yeah, God just definitely used you. And I've seen, and even I remember in those times, just the calls, sometimes the times we would talk, it was like the Lord spoke something to you specifically about pray for Christy in this time, and it was accurate. And to have that moment that you reached out to me really also encouraged my spirit. And so thank you for your sensitivity to the Lord, to the Holy Spirit, and being proactive to reach out then, just responsive, obedient to follow what He speaks to you. It's impactful.
We love you.
Yeah, I love you guys. That's awesome. We're just one big happy family here.
Y'all are awesome. Well, we're going to wrap up here soon, but I want to know some more stories. You've got a list. I want to hear a couple more, if you can throw them out there.
That's awesome.
I mean, I saw the list, so it's like a teaser. I got to hear them now.
You want to talk about martial law?
Ooh, that sounds interesting. Martial law.
Yeah, go for it.
In Venezuela, there was a time when the government of Venezuela nationalized the petroleum industry. And when they did that, the government had a lot of extra money, and they shared it generously while keeping quite a bit themselves. But it was a very good time for the average Venezuelan. And so a few years later, this same man decided to run for president again, only the economy of the country was not in the same condition. And so he was elected pretty much because people expected him to turn things around and bring back the way things were before, make Venezuela great again. And so after he won and had to put some austerity measures in, prior to this, a gallon of gasoline was equivalent to about 15 cents because the country produced oil, and so they purposely kept it low. Well, when the austerity measures came in, it went up to 30 cents, which doubled bus tickets. Everything became more expensive. They had also been having frozen prices to keep it so that the average person could buy things easily, and they had to raise them from time to time. Well, there were shopkeepers who would fatten the cow. They'd buy it at the cheap rate if they knew that it was going to go up. And so people would go and were looking for toilet paper or sugar or flour. Oh, no, we don't have any. It hasn't come from the factory. And unfortunately, somebody got hungry and decided to break in and see what they could find, and they found it stockpiled. And so then people got angry and started damaging the store and equipment. The regional director of our mission at the time was planning to come and visit us, and he was flying in to the airport, which was across town and over the mountain. We only had landlines at that time, and so there wasn't any way for people to get information to us. So I left Becky home with the kids, and I started driving to the airport to pick him up. It seemed like there was a lot more traffic than usual. There's a lot of traffic, but it seemed like a lot more traffic than usual. And it was going mainly on the highways going out of the city. But I had to go the other way out of the city. And so I thought, well, I'll just take a shortcut through this other way that I know to get there, to get around the capital. And the traffic was very low, almost non-existent, except for the buses that were burning and the dumpsters pushed out into the streets burning, people smashing windows to get at televisions, and policemen running and firing their rifles. And I couldn't turn around and go back because my boss was at the airport waiting for me. So I just kept going.
Just put your head down and kept driving?
And I went and picked up the boss. His mission experience was in Guatemala, where there was a lot of low-level violence.
Yeah, guerrilla activity.
But it wasn't as explosive as what this was. And so he had a different expectation about what we could do when we were under martial law.
For 10 days.
Wow.
And for me, my normal day in Venezuela was going to the bakery, and then after the bakery, deciding what I was going to buy for the day to make for food. Well, everything shut down, and I have this visitor here, plus I had the kids. And so I went to the grocery store, and there was, there's tanks in the city, tanks in the streets. There's, at the grocery store, they only allowed 5 people into the grocery store at a time. The AKRs or what, those machine guns. So we had to go in that way. I mean, there was no banks, nothing was open because we were in martial law. And like he said, our director wanted us to go to meet with the other missionary couple on the other end of town. And so all these tanks are in the streets, and I have the kids on the floor saying, keep your head down and don't, keep your head down. Don't look out the windows or anything like that, because we had to go from one area to the other area of Caracas.
So was that was your first time seeing something like that there? Did it happen again while you were there? Was that a normal thing, or was?
No, it was 10 days, and then the martial law was lifted, but still a lot of people got killed during that time, and we knew of other people, got killed during that time.
Goodness.
And then, the Venezuela that we went to is not the Venezuela it is today. Like, so that's very, very sad.
Wow.
And a lot of, people from our congregation are in different parts of the world because of this.
Goodness. Well, thank you guys for being here and sharing your stories, your crazy stories and your awesome stories. It was great to talk to you guys a little and get to know you a little bit more. And thank y'all so much for being here. It's really great.
And thank you for having us.
Yeah,
it's our
of course.
It's
pleasure.
great to be part of Globe.
Well, thank you for all you do for blessing the missionaries. I definitely have benefited from that, and just pray the Lord continue to guide and direct you guys and provide for you in every way. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for listening to Crazy Missionary Stories. If you are listening on Spotify, don't forget to follow us and give us a 5-star review. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, and of course, share it with your friends. Thank you guys for listening. See you next time.